Hello, hello. Welcome to our $20 Tacta-Cool Loadout. When we got the Armory Pass, I couldn't help but notice this little gun right here in the edition with the gallery case. We got this nice little USP 27, and I thought to myself, it'd be cool to make a nice, realistic loadout. And then when I started going through the skins, I quickly realized that a realistic loadout was going to have a lot of the default guns in it, because there isn't a whole lot of realistic skins in CSGO. But what we do have is a lot of Tacta-Cool skins. And what I mean by that is something like this guy right here. Now, if you saw this in real life, you'd think it'd be kind of like a showgun almost, right? Like it's a something a little too fancy. It's a little much, you know? But in CS, this is more of the most tactical, just like simplistic kind of thing that we can get. So we designed a whole loaded around it. Now, I have collected a skin for every single gun for this loadout, but you don't need every single gun. So this is my loadout here. This is what I use. There's a lot of guns that are just kind of useless, to be honest. You can replace this with the dualies if you're a dualies user, but I like the USP and the Glock, so I just use those first round every round anyway. So I have the CZ in here, but these are my inventories if you want, or loadouts if you want to copy that. You definitely don't need every single gun. That being said, we're going to go through every single gun. Now, I'm going to be talking in Canadian dollars when I quote every price on this, but this whole loadout will be under 20 US dollars and under 30 Canadian. So you can get everything for under those prices, but you won't need everything. So you have a little bit of money to spare, and we've got ourselves a nice little surprise at the end. I figured out a way that we can get an operator and still be underneath the $20 mark. So jumping into the skins, our first one's going to be the USP 027. This thing's going to run you about 40 cents, but it is so clean. It came out in the new gallery case, so the price is just probably going to keep going down. It's a very nice little gun. I when the case came out, I thought this thing was sick. Sticking with guns I've already shown you, we're going to be looking at this Glock Winterized. I love this thing. This gun is also going to be in field tested. It doesn't scratch too bad in field tested. I mean, try to aim for a lower float. You're going to get a little bit of scratching up here on the sight, but you'll never notice that really. Now, our third skin we're going to be looking at is the Desert Eagle Directive in field tested. The lower the float, just the brighter this gets. If it's low float, it kind of just gets dimmer, so it's just what you like, the better. This thing is going to be running us about 88 cents. Personally, I think this thing is the Terminator gun, but it is the best deagle that fits into our Tacta-Cool loadout. The rest of the deagles come nowhere close. Even no matter how much money you spend, there is not one that perfectly fits in, but this definitely fits in the best. Okay, so this is the revolver we got. We have the Nitro from the Inferno collection. Similar to the deagle, there wasn't really one that fit it too well, but this Nitro is just a clean gun. It feels like it's got kind of like a color matching parts all around, just something like a little bit flashy, but still very simple. So fits our Tacta-Cool style. This thing is in factory new, just so we don't get any scratching on it, and it's still very cheap. It's under 40 cents. It's usually sitting around 39. Now moving on to our dual Beretta ventilators and minimal wear. These things are going to run you about 25 cents. They're really nice. In minimal wear, you don't have to worry too much about scratching, but just always go for the lowest float in the lower price range that you can. You know, that's the best way to pick out skins. Next up for the P250, we got the P250 Rebuild in minimal wear. This thing runs about 20 cents. It's a nice little gun. Just fits the aesthetic of what we're going for very well. Not as detailed as some of the other ones, but still perfect. Now on to our Tech 9. In field tested, we have the Brother. It's a nice little gun. Fits the aesthetic we're going for. The face puts it a little off my aesthetic, but it is the best one by far for fitting it. This thing's going to run you about 75 cents, but clean little gun. Now over to the Tech 9's counterpart, the 5.7. We got ourselves a minimal wear Buddy. Again, the face isn't great, but the rest of the gun fits our loadout perfect. I went with min wear because the field tested will get a scratching in here and back here really bad. Now, sticking with minimal wear, we got our CZ Auto Vendetta. It's the perfect combo to go with the rest of our skins. A little worn here, but definitely the best option for the CZ. This thing's going to run us $1.25 roughly. The price does vary a little bit just because there's not a ton of them. Now that we're done the pistols, we're going to move on to the mid-tier guns. Starting us off, we have the MAC-10 calfskin in Minware. This thing's only going to run you at 15 cents. It's a very nice gun. It does fit toward the edge of our Tacta-Cool, but still I think definitely in it. It's the best option for the MAC-10. There isn't even an expensive one that fits that well, so definitely the best option. Now, personally, you would never catch me with this gun, but we got the MP5 SD and we got the Desert Strike. This thing's going to be coming in and field tested and only running us 16 cents, but as you can tell, it just fits the aesthetic perfect what we're going for. Now, from the old Breakout collection, we have the MP7 Urban Hazard, a great little gun, definitely fits our aesthetic perfect with the little flip down trigger up here and everything up here with the camo. For Minware, this thing is only going to run us 33 cents. Perfect little gun, great for the collection. Now onto the MP9. I think this thing is a amazing just budget MP9 in general. Coming in at 11 cents, we have the MP9 Black Sand. So clean, fits our aesthetic exactly for what we need, and honestly just so much better than the other cheap MP9s. This thing is definitely a win if you're just going for a budget loadout anyway. Now for our EcoFrag Hunters, we have a PP Bison Night Riot. Look at all this up here, just fits the rest of our guns, matching everything else perfect. We got the camo to match all the other guns and everything. Little carbon fiber back in the back. Great gun in Minware. This thing comes in at 23 cents. Very cheap and great for our little loadout. Another old skin, we got the Minware P90 Elite build from the Felsen collection. This thing's coming in at 65 cents. Just fits the rest of our guns perfect. Another one from the Felsen collection in Minware, we got the UMP45 Riot. I think you can see why this is matching our loadout. Just perfect, exact same. We got the camo, we got the fancy lettering, a little bit of carbon fiber. This thing is going to run us 80 cents, but it is a perfect gun for our loadout. Couldn't be more happy with it. Now from the new Sport and Field collection, we got the Mag 7 Wildwood. This one is definitely pushing the limits of our Tacta-Cool, but I still think it fits in. It's by far the best Mag 7 that fits in with it. In Minware, this thing's going to run us 40 cents, which is really good. It's just going to keep going down, honestly, too, anything from the new collections, but fits our loadout pretty well. For my Nova lovers, coming in at 75 cents, we got the field-tested Nova Ranger. I think you can see why this thing fits. It's just got our camo spray up here, little lettering. I like this and this. Matches the rest of our guns perfect. It's not as crazy as some of the other ones, but it's definitely right there with our aesthetic. By far the best Nova to fitting it. Now say you like the Nova, but you want to chop the end off it. We got the sawed-off Black Storm from the Danger Zone collection. This thing's going to be in minimal wear, because it does get a lot of scratching up here, but minimal wear is still real cheap at 25 cents. A very nice gun, perfectly fits. Yeah, I'm just going to keep saying perfectly fits, but this thing does perfectly fit our aesthetic that we're going for with the rest of those guns. Now for our shotgun lovers that like them to shoot fast, we got the XM. This thing really fits our aesthetic here with the nice lettering, all this kind of fancy gripping here, and then it's got the detail and this kind of extendo stock. This thing is field tested, coming in at 18 cents. It is so cheap, I actually bought one for myself for my loadout. Moving over to the M249, we got the Spectra. I think you can see why. Not going to linger on this one too long. Definitely fits what we're looking at, if that's your cup of tea. Speaking of cups of tea, we got another one. This is going to be the Negev Desert Strike from the old Blackout collection in minimal wear. The lower minimal wear you can get, the less scratch you're going to get here, but this is still minimal wear and it has a ton of scratching. But coming in at 28 cents, this is a perfectly priced gun. Matches our aesthetic perfectly, just with the lettering and everything here. All this. Now with the main gun we want to see. Everyone wants the AK. It's the most important gun, really. This is the AK-47 Elite build from the old Chroma 2 collection in field tested. You're going to want to be scrolling down this list going as low as you can because field tested has such a big gap. Make sure you want to try to find something 20 or under or in the 20s at the very least. Try to avoid something in the .3s, but if you can get something in the .2s or lower, then you're laughing. So I think you can see why we chose this thing. It matches the aesthetic we're going for perfect, and coming in at $2.80, It really doesn't break the bank, and it's a pretty sweet looking gun. A good platform for some stickers if you really want, but definitely my pick, and a really cool old school pick. You'll get some compliments on it, honestly. Now we got the AUG in case this meta ever comes back for some reason. It's a pretty cool skin. You can see why it matches our aesthetic we're going for. We got the carbon fiber, the metal work up here, the mag, the grip, stuff like that, the fold up grip. But I'm not going to spend too much money on an AUG, so we got field tested and running us 34 cents. Now moving on to our FAMAS, we got the ZX Spectre. It's a great gun because we can pick this thing up in battle scarred. If you look at the wear, it's about as battle scarred as it can get, and you can hardly tell. There isn't a scratch on this thing. It just kind of makes it a little dimmer, which I think is great because it actually kind of brings this red down a little bit. This thing is going to come in at $2.10, but I think it's definitely worth it. You can see why it fits our aesthetic with all this writing we got, fancy grip and everything. Just simple but Tacta-Cool. Now, moving over to the op. This op isn't perfect, but we got the op duality in battle scarred. Actually, the more battle scarred you get this thing down to, it turns into almost this gold, and this pink just gets kind of deeper, and it looks really good. This is actually what I run on my T side, is a battle scarred duality. It doesn't fit the aesthetic perfect, but if we want something that fits the aesthetic that we're going for up to the T, we're looking at a $30 to $40 gun. So this thing's gonna fit it, look good, and if we're choosing something that's not gonna fit perfect, it might as well be a nice gun that looks kind of cool like this, and is really cheap, coming in at $3.22. So can't lose there. Honestly, the nicest cheap gun in my opinion that you can get. Very sweet. Now onto our Galil, and this is something that fits our aesthetic perfectly. Look at this lettering down here, just kind of the whole design of it. This is exactly what we're looking for. Love this thing. Comes in at 30 cents and field tested. Just look for something lower because it does get a little scratched up, but this is still in the medium to higher side of it. So if you can find something on the lower end of field tested, you're laughing. Next up is actually the M4A1S, and I had a really hard time finding this one, but then I came back, looked again, and I found one that I hadn't really given a shot at first, and it was perfect. This is the M4A1S Mud Spec from the Anubis collection. The mud has this gold tinge that really matches with our op, which is kind of nice, but if you look underneath the mud, this thing's a Tacta-Cool M4. It's got this kind of dimpling here in the barrel. All these, the barrel has been machined down and it's kind of hexagon. We got the writing up here and here and here. We got the dimpling. This thing is exactly what we're looking for in our wheelhouse, with a little bit of gold to it to match our op, but that gold I'm pretty sure is supposed to be mud. But perfect gun. Field tested, this thing's only gonna run us 40 cents. Um, I mean, cannot lose with that. It's nothing over the top crazy, but really slick and fits our loadout great. Now, moving on to the SG Triarch. This is gonna be our SG. I think you can see why it fits. Lettering, we got the camo. You know, yeah, this thing's perfect for what we're looking for. This thing's still in the higher end of field tested. It's got a little scratching here and there, but not too bad. Now moving on to the first of a couple snipers, we got the SG Handbrake. And minimal wear is a nice little addition. We got kind of this checkerboard pattern back here, but we got this mount up here and everything. Definitely fits our loadout. This makes the Mac 10 kind of fit in a lot better, I think, because this fits in pretty well, and this is very similar to the Mac 10, so it kind of gives it that feel where they're combined. And again, at 82 cents, this thing is perfect for what we're looking for. Now moving on to the next sniper, we get the G3 Auto Sniper. We're looking at the Stinger here. This thing's gonna run us 70 cents. If it's the aesthetic we're looking for, I'm just not really an auto sniper person. They kind of, whenever I see one, I want to throw it out of the map, you know? I think you can all agree with me there. Now on to another field-tested auto sniper. For the Scar 20, we're looking at the Green Marine. This thing is going to cost us 30 cents. Fits exactly what we're looking for perfectly. And, again, an auto sniper. Ugh. So, now, the last gun we have is the M4A4. If you're an M4A4 player and you're wanting to spend a little extra money on something cool that you don't see every day, this is what we're going with. It's the M4A4 Desert Strike from the Huntsman collection. You really rarely ever see this thing. It's pretty slick. This is in minimal wear, and this thing is going to cost us $7.30, which is a lot of our budget. But if you're an M4A4 player, it's just a cool gun. I always tend to lean towards things that are a little rare, which this is. You don't really see it that much. So it's kind of cool. That being said, if you do not want to spend 730 on an M4 and you just like the A1S, or you still don't want to spend that much because we can get an operator. If we don't buy that M4, we can get an operator for a much cheaper price. So, replacing that M4, we're going to be looking at the M4A4 Poly Mag. Looks pretty good. Nowhere near as good, in my opinion, as the Desert Strike, but it's very similar and looks good, fits our aesthetic is what we're going for. And this thing is only going to run us 20 cents. It's insanely, like unbelievably cheaper. So I think it not looking good is as quite as good as justified. So if we go with the M4A4 Desert Strike, every single skin that I've shown you for every single gun is gonna come in at just over $30 Canadian or just over $21 US. But we don't need every single gun. Like, we can cut out so many of those. So if you bought every one that you wanted for your loadout, you're coming in at under $30 Canadian or under $20 US. So you can buy that little $20 US Steam money and not have to spend any more money, sell any of your cases or anything that you're getting for your weekly drops. Now, another reason why you might want to go with the Polymag instead of the Desert Strike is because with the money that we're saving with the Polymag, that's going to put us at $16 US or $23 Canadian, roughly, for all the skins. That doesn't even include the skins that we aren't even going to buy because they're not going to fit into our loadout, which will leave us enough money to pick up this feller right here, Enforcer Phoenix. So Enforcer Phoenix is going to run us about $6.40 Canadian or $4.45 US, but if we cut out that Desert Strike for the Polymag, we can replace it with this guy right here. Now, I do think that the CT agents that are very cheap are not nice skins. I wouldn't even use them. I would just use the default one. But Forester Phoenix is a pretty sick skin here, and he's pretty cheap. So, he's a great option to cut out that Desert Strike. Pick him up instead. You have your Tacta-Cool loadout still. You got everything you could want. And you got yourself a nice little agent. Just a bonus. And that's going to stick under $20 US for everything. Or under 25 Canadian. Honestly, for all the cool skins that we're getting, I actually can't believe that this is under 20 US or 25 Canadian. There's some really sweet stuff here. I'm really happy with the loadout we were able to put together. Obviously, you're not going to use everything, but we came up with some cool stuff for it, and I think this loadout is so clean altogether. Like, it's just everything works perfect for it. It's so good. Let me know if you like this loadout video. We're going to be doing more. I have a $20 or 25 Canadian dollar flashy loadout coming out next. But if you have any other ideas or any kind of mixes you'd want to see, let me know. Like I showed with all the breakdowns, you're probably actually gonna have a few dollars left over, so you can pick yourself up some stickers and slap them on some of these nice ones that are really good bases for stickers, like this guy or some of the other skins. That's it for this video. Leave me a comment what you want to see next, what kind of loadouts. Like I said, we have a flashy loadout coming on, a flashy cheap loadout coming up next. And then maybe we'll do some more expensive loadouts. Who knows? That's it for this video. Have a great night and see you later.